not really learning much new stuff today, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to take a bunch of the skills that we've sort of acquired up until this point, and we're going to kind of put them together to accomplish a task, all right? But again, no real new skill per se, all right? If I gave you these three questions, right? I want to know if the x value that I give you satisfies the inequality. What does the word satisfy? Okay. What do I mean when I say the word satisfies the inequality? Makes it true, right? Yeah. Does it make it true or does it make it false, right? So in this first example, what do I really want to do? I want to take 4 and do what with it? Plug it in. Yeah, I just want to take the 4 and I want to plug it in. Come on, pen. Yep. Is it? Is it what I get? Yeah, there you go. Boom. Right? Of course, you guys can use a calculator to do that, right? By storing a variable, okay? But in either case, you get 4 squared minus 3 times 4 minus 10. So I get 16 minus 12 minus 10. And I get negative 6 greater than 0. True or false? False. All right, does not satisfy. All right, let's take 2. We'll plug 2 in. And that gives me 2 order of operations. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Plus 26 minus 7 is 27 greater than or equal to 0? C. That one's true, right? Gotta be careful with this one, guys. I'm going to do this without actually plugging in. I'm just going to verbalize it. Ready? What's negative 3 squared? Positive 9. What's negative 3? Positive 3. So now I have 9 plus 3, which is 12. I have 12 minus 12, which is 0. Is 0 less than 0? No, that's false, right? 0 is not less than 0. Okay? All right, so why am I having you guys plug in values? Well, you're going to see now. Okay, you're going to see now. What I'm doing, these are called quadratic inequalities. What makes them quadratic inequalities? Well, there's a square. And it's an inequality because I have a less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to sign, right? So, here I give you this. And I want to know where this is true. I want to know what x values make this true. Okay? So I got to solve this algebraically first. Now notice what I did, guys, and this is a little confusing. I went from an inequality symbol to an equal sign. Okay? I'm going to explain why I did that in a minute. Okay? I'm going to explain why I did that in a minute. But do you guys agree that this looks like something that was on your quiz yesterday? And how do we solve this? We factor it, set our factors equal to 0. Is that cool? So if I factored this, I get that. I set those equal to 0. So I get a solution of negative 3, and I get a solution of positive 1. All right, so at negative 3, what value did I just get? At negative 3, so if I plug negative 3 into this, what would it equal? it would equal 0, right? Okay, that's the whole point of solving this, right? So at -3, I get 0. And at a solution of 1, I get 0 as well, right? Okay. Guys, I'm going to show you something kind of neat, okay? If I asked you to graph this, what would it be? A parabola, right? Does everybody agree it would be a parabola, right? And talk to me about that parabola. What are some things that you know are true? It's what? It's ongoing. Agreed. So it continues forever, right? Continues forever because there's going to be arrows at the end of it, right? Okay, I agree with that. Give me something else about that parabola you know is true. There's a line of symmetry. Parabolas are lines of symmetry. I agree. There's no min. There actually would be a min, and you're going to see why in a minute. There is no max, though, in terms of highest point. Vertex. Yeah, vertex would be the minimum, right? Is this parabola going to smile or frown? Right? Is it going to be like one of these? One of those. It's going to smile. Why is it going to smile? That should sound familiar from something. The x squared term is positive, right? So it's going to be a smiley parabola, right? It's going to be a smiley parabola. There's my smiley parabola, right? Now, one more piece of information that I want to ask you guys. What do these represent? We talked about this a couple of days ago. When I solve this, I get solutions, right? I get roots, I get x-intercepts, I get zeros. So I know where the roots of this parabola are. They're at -3, and they're at 1. Yes? Okay. So I know this says to use your calculator, but I'm going to show you guys something kind of neat. If I go to the left of -3, right? So here's -3, here's -3. If I move to the left, this graph is going which direction? It's moving to the left, but it's doing what? Going up or down? It's rising, right? So as I move to the left, this thing rises. Everybody agrees with that? And does everybody agree that I'm always going to be a positive value as I move to the left? It's never going to come back down, right? So it's always going to give me some positive value. I'm putting two little positive signs there. Okay. How about at -2? How about right here at negative here? Well, here's -3, right? So -2 would be like over here, and 0 would be like here, right? Would you guys agree that these values are all what? They're all negative values, right? Why are they negative values? Because I'm below the x-axis, right? So at -2, it's negative. At -1, it's negative. At 0, it's negative. No doubt about it. And then what about at 2 and 3? Well, at 1, it's 0, and then it rises. So where does it go? Up to more positive values, right? More positive values, right? Now, quick question. Do I really care what these values are in terms of positives and negatives? Because look at what I'm trying to solve. I want to know where this graph is less than 0, meaning what? Negative. Well, where was this less than 0? All of those values, right? So all of these. Okay, so all of these. There is one thing that's a little weird about this, Hazi. It's a little weird. -3 is right here, right? -2 is like maybe like right here, right? What about -2.5? Is that still negative? It's still below, right? What about -2.9? Is that still negative? Yeah, what about -2.99? Is that still negative? Yeah, what about, guys, what about at a, so I have a root at 1, right, which is here, and then 0 is maybe here, right? So what about at a half? Still what? Still negative. What about at 3/4? Still negative, right? So I want to be careful about this, guys. It's 0 at -3, at 0 at 1, and everything in the middle is going to be what? Negative, right? So in terms of a solution, guys, right, in terms of a solution, if I was to write my solution on a number line, what would it look like? Well, I'm going to put all these things on here. So I'm at -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Actually, up to 3. Okay. We said that we are equal to 0 at -3 and 1. I just put open circles on that, guys. Why did I put open circles on that? Because what did I say about this inequality? I said that I have to be less than 0. Less than 0 means I can't equal to 0. And in math, I fill in circles if I want to equal something, right? And then you guys agree that it was everything that was what? Between those values, right? Were I to write a interval of solutions, right? The solutions began at -3, but didn't include it. So how do I write that as an interval? Do I put a parenthesis on that or a bracket? A parenthesis, right? And then my answer goes from -3 to 1, but not including 1, so I put a parenthesis on that, right? So my solution is everything from -3 to 1, but not including -3 or 1, right? Guys, explain why the zeros, explain why these values were not part of the solution set, because the inequality said I had to be what? Less than 0, never what? Never at 0, right? So the solutions do not include values of 0, right? They did not include values of 0. Because it said what? Because it said less than, not less than or equal to. All right, so guys, there's a whole bunch of like steps here, right? I really just kind of showed you how to do the whole thing in that example, believe it or not, okay? There's a bunch of steps here, all right? And I'm just going to kind of show you how to do it, and I think it'll make sense. I think you'll be okay. So here's what I want to do. I want to determine all of the possible answers to this problem, okay? Where is this parabola less than or equal to 0? So what do I need to know about this parabola? Well, the first thing I need to do is determine the roots. So to determine the roots, I'm going to take this quadratic and change the inequality sign to equal 0, right? Two numbers, they multiply to be 36, negative 36. Add to be -5. 9 and 4. All right, so we got signs 9 and 4. Which one's negative? Which one's positive? This is the tough part. I want a -5, right? So the 9 has to be what? Has to be the negative, right? Because I need. So again, think about it with money, guys, right? Somebody owes you $9, they give you 4, they still owe you 5, right? That's why it's a -5. Okay, set those equal to 0. All right, so I have my two roots, right? These are the roots. So the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a fast, quick sketch of the parabola. Now, when I say fast and quick, I mean let's literally take 3 seconds to draw the parabola. Ready? Happy or sad? Happy. Because why? X squared is positive. So I know that this is happy. And I know that it has roots of -4 and 9. So can we literally, with that information, create an extremely rough sketch? Boom. Boom. -4 and 9. Hey, guys, when I say rough sketch, can we be like a little careful? If I have roots of -4 and 9, I should probably put those in the right order, correct? Like 9's not going to be this one, right? I know, I'm just saying. You'd be surprised. So now, here's what I need to do next. Blake, do you agree that anything that touches this axis equals 0? Okay. What about everything above here? Everything that's above this axis is what? Positive. So greater than 0. And everything that is below this axis is what? Less than 0. All right, now, have I created my quick sketch? I have my roots. Let's analyze it. Ready? What do I want to know about this parabola? Where is this parabola what? Less than or equal to 0? Well, where is this parabola less than or equal to 0? Everywhere below, right? Including the roots, right? Am I going to include the roots? Yeah, because it said less than or equal to. All right, so ready? I'm going to use the word between or outside of. Are the answers to this graph between the roots or outside of the roots? Well, where's the shaded region? Between or outside? Between, right? The shaded region is between. So can everybody agree that the solutions begin at -4 and end at 9? So my answer to this problem starts at -4 and ends at 9. Why did I use brackets? Because I said I'm allowed to what? Equal the solution. Equal 0, right? Good? How's this problem different? It only adds one small step to this process. Not much. It's not equal to what? It's not equal to 0, right? So we have to add one step, and it's move all terms to one side, right? Move all the terms to one side. So if I move the 10x and add the 8, I get 2x squared minus 14x. -8 plus 8, that goes away. So greater than or equal to 0. All right, now it looks like something from the previous page, correct? And my second step is to find the roots. So I'm going to set this equal to 0 now, right? What's my first step of factoring? Look for a greatest common factor. And this one has a greatest common factor of 2x. Set those equal to 0. So I have roots of 0 and 7. All right, got my roots. And now I need to create my quick sketch. Happy or sad again, right? Again, I'm looking at this, right? 2x squared, 2 is positive, so definitely a happy parabola. Maybe I should try to draw a horizontal line. A little better. Not really. Still pretty bad. Roots of 0 and 7. Okay, again, this is where I'm equal to 0. This is where I'm greater than 0. This is where I'm less than 0. And what am I looking for, guys? I'm looking for where my parabola is greater than. Well, where is it greater than? It's greater than when I'm above, right? So it's this portion, and it's this portion. So this is the first time we've seen this, right? Is the shaded region the area between the roots or outside of the roots? Outside. Okay, ready? This is where you're going to get confused. Maybe. This answer starts at 0 and moves left. This answer starts at 7 and moves right. Okay. Guys, if I start at 0 and move left, and there's an arrow here, this keeps moving left and up, right? Is there any boundary to how far I can move left? No. So how far left is it going to move? To negative infinity. Okay? And I get on this, right? I get on this piece of the solution, and I move to the right, and I move to the right, and it also moves up, and it also moves up, and it also stays positive. So as it moves right, it moves towards what value? Positive infinity. So, ready? What is my solution? Well, my solution is everything between negative infinity and the root, right? So everything between negative infinity and 0. Do I include 0? Because it says greater than and equal to. So I start at negative infinity, and I go to 0, and I include 0, so I put a bracket on it, right? All right, then when's the other part of my solution? The other part of my solution begins at 7 and goes to positive infinity. And there you have it. That's your solution, right? So when I said that we're really not learning anything new, we're not, right? We're factoring, and then we're deciding where something is above or below an axis, right? That's all we're doing. Interval notation is definitely something you've seen before, right? This is an interval, guys. What if I asked you to write this as an inequality? Well, do you guys agree that the answers here is everything where x is less than 0? Isn't that what this says right here? Doesn't this say x is less than 0? Oh, I'm sorry, less than or equal to. And then what does this say? X is greater than or equal to 7, right? So in this case, right, that would be the two pieces of your inequality if you had to write an inequality, right? Okay, what do I got to do here? Move everything to one side, move it over to the left. All right, so first step, move everything to one side. Second step, find the roots. So to find roots, I got to set this equal to 0. I know ultimately this is what I want to focus on analyzing, right? So we'll focus on analyzing that in a minute. How do I factor x squared minus 25? X plus 5x minus 5. It's a difference of perfect squares, right? All right, we're going to set these equal to 0. And I have my two roots, right? All right, so again, I got my quadratic, I got my roots. I still have a happy parabola, right? So when I sketch this guy out, -5 and 5. And again, this is where I'm equal to 0. This is where I'm greater than 0. This is where I'm less than 0. And I want to know where I'm less than 0. So that's everything down here. Sean, is that the area between the roots or outside of the roots? Between the roots. Yeah, I highlighted this stuff between the roots. So my answer begins at -5 and ends at +5. If I wrote that as an inequality, right? If I wrote that as an inequality, what would it look like? Well, I'd have an x, I'd have a -5, and I'd have a +5, right? All right, so ready? Is x bigger than -5? Are the answers bigger than -5? They are, all right, so the alligator's going to eat the x, right? Are the answers bigger than or less than +5? They're less, right? So the answer is going to shy away from the x, right? Either one of them. Yeah, so it all depends, right? So this would be the interval notation. And this would be your inequality notation. It all depends. So a couple different things. One, you could see it as a multiple choice question, so you got to be familiar with both, right? Or I might say, give it to me as an inequality or give it to me as an interval, right? So you could see all forms of that. All right. It's already in the form we want, right? What's the only thing about this problem that makes it difficult? The fact that factoring it's a little bit more challenging, right? There is no greatest common factor, I promise you. How do I know that? Well, 5 is the smallest number, and 5 doesn't go into 12, so I know it can't go into, so I don't even care about the 28, right? And then I have an x squared and an x, but this doesn't have any x, right? So it's going to be an AC problem. I need factors of -60. Looking for the two that add up to be 28. 30 and -2. Very good. So I have a 30 and a -2. 5 goes into 30. So that becomes x plus 6. And the 5x minus 2 stays. All right. So x plus 6 equals 0. 5x minus 2 equals 0. Answers of 2/5 and -6. Next step, create my sketch. Still happy? Yep. And again, I want the answers that are greater than 0, right? So that means I'm looking for the answers that are above, which means between or outside of in this case. Outside of, right? Guys, if I have answers outside of, I know I have infinities, correct? Because it's going to keep going forever. So where does this first interval of solutions begin? At it doesn't begin at -6, it ends at -6. It begins at negative infinity, right? So it begins at negative infinity until it gets to negative 6 with a parenthesis, and then it begins again at 2/5 until it goes to infinity. Yes, Trinity.
So how do you know to like put the parentheses in the bracket?
If you have this or this, right? Oh boy. Versus that or that, right? I only want to do one more problem with you guys, okay? All I want to do with you guys is just this problem 42. Okay. Guys, do you agree that I'm going to have some parabola? Hey, look at this. What's that say? Negative 2. So it's going to be the first time that we see a parabola that's what? Frowning. Right? Now, I don't know what the roots are. We'll figure that out in a minute. I still want to know where this is what? Greater than 0? So where's greater than 0? That's above, right? So isn't my solution going to be everything in the middle? Yes? Yeah, right? So now I got to figure out what the roots are. I'm going to show you guys a quick little trick, okay? Everybody knows how to unsolve, right? We all know how to unsolve, okay? There's a feature in there that I want to show you guys, okay? If you go to unsolve, boom, 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 right? Below unsolve, we worked on using a system of linear equations when we did what? When we did those things with x, y's, and z's, right? Well, below that is a function called polytools. We can find roots, okay? So if we go to polytools and we go to find roots, we're going to get this, okay? And it's going to ask you to input the degree. Guys, all degree is the highest exponent in the problem. Well, we're doing exponents of what? What's the highest exponent in all the problems we've been doing this unit? They're all squared, right? Don't worry about this. Always leave this alone, okay, for now. Then all you're going to do is you're literally going to type in the numbers or the coefficients. So this problem was a negative 2. All right, what was the next number? 7. And what was the last number? Negative 3. All right, and it will type it for you, right? So that it creates that template so that it types it for you. And then if you just hit enter, it'll tell you what the roots are. Literally, it's just going to say, here's your roots, okay? So you have a root of 1/2 and 3, right? You have a root of 1/2 and 3. All right, so again, how did I get there? I went to the same place as unsolve, and then I went to that third option. So I have roots of 1/2 and 3, so this is 1/2. This is 3. I want all the answers that are in between these, right? So which of these choices can I get rid of right off the bat? Don't make any sense. Well, this one doesn't make any sense because this says negative 3, so let's get rid of that. This says negative 1/2, so let's get rid of that. Okay, which of these guys gives answers in the middle? Well, this says what? This says x is greater than 1/2. If I read it backwards, do I want x is greater than 1/2? Yeah. This says x is less than 3. Do I want answers less than 3? Yeah, this is my choice, right? What's wrong with this one? This one says I want answers of x that are less than 1/2. That would be going this way, right? Is that what I wanted? Yeah, no good, right? Okay. I'm going to stop there. I'm going to give you guys some time to